Hey guys, welcome back. We have a full moon in the sign of Leo that we're going to be talking about today. We have reached the midpoint of our Aquarius new moon cycle, halfway through Aquarius season as the moon in Leo comes into an opposition with the sun in Aquarius. This is happening on Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, 13:54 Universal Time, 8:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the exact alignment is occurring at 24 degrees 6 minutes of the sign of Leo, where the moon is, and Aquarius, where the sun is. Now, this particular full moon energy that we've got going on right now is being squared very, very tightly by the planet Uranus in the sign of Taurus. They're actually within 1 degree orb to an exact square with one another. So we have a tight Uranian square going on. This is happening in fixed signs. This is the time, you guys, if there has been something that has just not been wanting to move, fixed, stubborn, stagnant, just like holding firm, and but some type of change, transformation, transition really needs to take place. This is probably when you're going to see some progress along those lines. Things are being shaken loose with that. We can say that just sort of fundamentally across the board. Foundations are shaking as this particular full moon comes through. Now, it's also happening in a pretty tight conjunction and opposition with the planet Mercury. Mercury is the messenger planet. This is the mind, information, communication, what we're thinking about, what we're talking about, how we're interacting as well. And there could be some shocking news or information that accompanies whatever's playing out with this full moon. We could be finding some things out that really blow our minds somehow. And there is likely to be something about whatever's going on that changes our mind, shifts our perspective. We're probably going to be thinking about things differently after we move through this period of time. And honestly, I feel like this is kind of point of no return energy. I don't think that we are ever going to go back to how we used to do things, how we used to think about things, maybe even what we used to want previous to whatever it is that goes on or transpires as we move through this energy. Now, we're talking about a full moon, which of course is the energetic climax each month as it is. That's when energy is generally the highest, and in the square almost exactly to Uranus, this is things like electrified, okay? Electricity in the air. This is a lot of nervous tension as well. Things are probably going to be very tense because we're talking about almost a 90-degree square angle. And change, Uranus at the end of the day always generally equates to some type of big changes that are going on. And we also have Pluto in the sign of Aquarius right now. I think that we've reached a point of epic change, you guys. So that all being said, let's get more into the way that this energy may be presenting, aside from just the general shock factor of things out there that is likely to be saturating our energetic environment and experiences. Another thing, though, that I want to say, this is a full moon in Leo, you guys. At the end of the day, Leo has a lot to do with the inner child, joy, play, celebration, just celebrating life generally. If there's a way that you can find to just let loose, have some fun, embrace the inner child, do something creative, do something that you enjoy, celebrate somehow, that's probably gonna do the heart and soul some good on some level as we move through this time. And another thing in that regard that I want to say, considering we also have the Uranian square going on, if you do happen to have parties, celebrations, events, occasions planned for around this period of time, you should plan on being adaptable. Things are probably just not going to proceed according to plan. This is classic expect the unexpected and shake ups energy, sudden changes to plans. And because this is a full moon in Leo, it's likely to be hitting in terms of celebrations, parties, events. Also like sports games and stuff like that could suddenly be canceled, changed, rearranged, sudden change of plans. So on a more mundane level, that is something that we may perhaps find ourselves interfacing with while we move through this full moon energy. But there's a lot more to say. There's a lot there's many more layers to this that we will get into as we move through this report. However, another thing that's sort of like jumping off the page at me, so to say, in terms of just like the way that the energy is laying itself out there, we may be finding ourselves being tested to be resourceful in some way, perhaps maybe that we weren't expecting or weren't anticipating, but is sort of like an opportunity to put some type of preparation into practice, or to just need to rely more heavily on ourselves and be more self-reliant for some reason. We have the position where this full moon is coming in at the Sabian symbol of 25 degrees of Leo. Now, as I mentioned, the full moon is happening exactly 24 degrees and 6 minutes of the sign of Leo. But when we are looking at the symbolic placement of these degrees, we round up, we read the energetic wave that is incoming, pulling in, beginning to manifest, not the energy that is waning out and dissipating. So we're going to be looking at 25 degrees of Leo in terms of the Sabian symbol associated with our full moon, and that is a large camel crossing a vast and forbidding desert. So obviously this symbolism has a lot to do with needing to be able to rely on ourselves, to like endure, to persevere, to make it through something, you know, maybe some type of difficult journey or challenge or barren or, you know, dry or sparse or like this, that, or the other, but for whatever reason, like it's indicating that we actually have everything that we need to make it through this period of time within us on some level. So there's that. And I feel like a lot of times I don't talk about the symbolism until we get to the end, and I'm actually going to talk about a lot more symbolism in this video, but that kind of like theme of, and you know, we're also moving into this age of Aquarius right now. We have Uranus in the sign of Taurus, which is about awakening to our own inner resources, our own true potential, like figuring out like, oh, I'm the camel, like I can make it, I can sustain, I can endure, I can survive, because I actually am more prepared for this maybe than I thought I was. Like there's a whole bunch of different vibes like that, like sort of the imagery or the idea of being like pushed out of the nest and like that's how we figure out that we can fly, or like being the camel, finding ourselves in the middle of the desert and like that's how we figure out how strong and capable and resourceful and resilient we really are. Like there could be some type of like common theme or collective theme running through all of this, or thread or something like that, about some type of like awakening to an inner strength that we were unaware of, or an aptitude or an ability or a motivation or something that we just like had been sleeping on within ourselves, like that we were unaware of, that we didn't know, you know, we had within us, and then like for whatever reason getting pushed to the point of awakening to that, and that being life-changing in some capacity, or acting as some type of catalyst as well for some process that leads to some type of change. There could be a lot of like catalytic things taking place right now. Uranus is obviously the lightning planet. It has a lot to do with things happening suddenly that in an instant, you know, dynamically, radically change the state of something from one thing to something else. But also Uranus, this is like the galactic fixer. Uranus brings blessings in disguise. Uranus ultimately plays the role or serves the purpose of making changes for us that we haven't been able to make for ourselves, in order to actually facilitate some higher path or purpose to come into fruition somehow. I always feel like Uranian energy, and I say this all the time, has a lot to do with facilitating a destiny that we may or may not be aware of. It's also, of course, the Great Awakening planet, and this entire Aquarius season has been giving a lot of indications about kind of a collective spiritual awakening underway right now as well. Again, I would not be surprised if the catalyst for a lot of the changes that are going on right now in some people is a result of some type of like profound spiritual experience or spiritual phenomenon, or like divine intervention or miracle or miraculous encounter or something like that, that happens that is just like this eye-opening moment and kind of changes everything. But regardless, you guys, it is just likely to be a time of some pretty dynamic change. And if it's not something that is of, a more significant nature, then it's probably just going to be a really weird week. Things are probably not going to go as planned, and there may be some interference in regards to, again, like occasions, sports, games, celebrations, parties, and also things to do with other people. This is a very financially oriented moon as well, even though it's a full moon in Leo. With this square to Uranus and Taurus, I do think that is going to represent some general like financial instability, market instability. Like we could see some big moves happening kind of unexpectedly in like financial markets and stuff like that as well. And also there's going to be a lot of corrections taking place in terms of like financial situations, and people I do think are going to be suddenly changing course in terms of like commitments and investments and stuff. There could be some big changes happening in terms of like projects and within partnerships, deals, agreements, legal situations, and stuff like that as well. All across the board, you guys, is probably a time of dynamic change, but especially things to do with Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius energy. And I will be more specific about that. I made a nice little list as I get through my notes and we move towards the end of this report. I will give you guys like some specific areas that are most likely to be pressed upon in all of this, but just generally also kind of across the board, it's like a lightning strike or like a tornado touching down. I don't know, but things are probably just not going to look the same for some reason after we move through this week. It may be helpful also to know in your own chart where the fixed sign axes are placed in terms of your own house placement, where you have Aquarius, Leo, and Taurus specifically in your chart. And if you do have planets around 24 degrees of fixed signs or fire signs also in a trine to the moon, you are likely to be just more personally experiencing the dynamism associated with this energy. Things happening suddenly though, things happening unexpectedly, and the news, information, conversation, minds changing, minds shifting, minds electrified. Mental energy is likely to be like very, very fast paced. There could be like just thoughts entering and leaving, lightning speed. You may have a hard time like catching your own breath in terms of the speed at which you're trying to kind of like calibrate your thoughts as we move through this. This could also, of course, indicate a lot of nervous tension, very high anxiety. Could be a time where it's quite difficult to sleep, and there could just be like a lot of excess energy that we feel like we need to burn off. Being active, I would say, is a good way to deal with it. You don't want to just kind of like be like a house for this energy. You don't want to be a vessel for all of this like nervous tension, fire energy that we've got going on with the moon in Leo, but squaring Uranus and opposite the sun in Aquarius. Because remember, Aquarius, where the sun is right now, the polarity point to the moon, which is bringing us our full moon in Leo, is ruled by Uranus, who is in this square. So this is like mega supercharged Uranian energy. Very psychic energy. There could also be a lot of people are going to be having like kind of along the same lines of the spiritual experience, spiritual phenomenon, but on kind of like a different dimension of that. A lot of people are going to be having these just tremendous like flashes of insight, epiphany, sudden realization, light bulb moment. Oh my God, like I had this sudden download and now I'm seeing everything different. This is a very inventive energy. It's a very highly creative energy, but also, it's a very psychic and prophetic energy that we've got going on at this time generally as well. As I said, all Aquarius season really this year. And it's not just because of the Mercury conjunction and the square to Uranus, both of which, this is also very telepathic. Both of which I was going to say, just give us an aptitude to like perceive glimpses of the future. And we also, don't forget, have this ongoing North Node Neptune conjunction in the sign of Pisces, another very, very highly spiritual influence. We are starting a new cycle of spiritual growth, and as a result of that aspect, which is another rare one, we haven't had this alignment in the sign of Pisces since the 1850s. The veil between the worlds right now, as I've been saying, is like extremely thin, barely there, pretty much no boundary between spiritual and material. And that's another reason spiritual awakening, therefore, I think is a collective theme that we are likely to see go on in the midst of all this energy that is playing out. There's probably going to be a lot happening very quickly. I would put the speed with which changes are occurring at lightning speed level as we move through this. Tension and anxiety, as I said, probably pretty high. And it can be chaotic, reckless, clumsy, accident-prone energy, especially if we are moving too fast and not paying attention. Another thing that I have been kind of just putting out there as sort of a cautionary thing to be aware of, there is very, very little earth energy present right now, and the earth energy that we do have present in terms of planetary placements is being represented essentially only by Uranus in the sign of Taurus, which is shaking foundations. Okay, Taurus is a very stable sign. That is essentially about stable foundations. And when we've got Uranus there, that is earthquakes. Okay, like that is not like a secure ground that we're standing on. So one planet that we have in an earth sign is Uranus, and that is not doing anything to maintain like our sense of grounding energetically. And then the other situation that we've got going on in an earth sign right now is the south node in the sign of Virgo. But again, the south node is an energy about release, endings, like letting things go. This is energy that like it doesn't seek to like maintain, you know, it seeks to transition. So we've got Taurus and we've got Virgo. Like, yes, that earth energy is indicated in our chart right now by Uranus and the south node, but neither of those are stabilizing influences in the earth signs. So we've got pretty much no planets in earth signs, and the planets that we do have in earth signs are not like activating that earth energy in a way that would ground us. And then we've got this air sign energy going on with the sun and Mercury in the conjunction in Aquarius, Jupiter and Gemini, and the Mercury sun conjunction being squared also obviously, of course, by Uranus ruling the sign of Aquarius. This is this very like scattered, like all over the place, borderline chaotic, quite impulsive, very excitable, but just not stable, not grounded energy. So therefore, what I'm trying to say is the more conscious that we can be of that, and the more that we can actively take measures to ground ourselves, to take a couple deep breaths, to slow ourselves down, maybe not to just instantly react based on what we think is happening. Also understanding Uranus is the planetary energy that has to do with silver linings, blessings in disguise, things not being exactly as they appear in the moment that they're happening. And a lot of this Aquarius season and this full moon, I think, and the changes associated with it are going to present, and I've been saying this as well, in a way that is not necessarily representative of their actual intention or purpose. Like, I think that a lot of, I mean, it's true Tower card energy. Like, when that lightning strikes that tower, what it's really doing is it's really creating a change that liberates on some level and allows room for opportunity for something better, something more free, something more authentic. But in order to get to that point, we have to suffer that fear or that shakeup or that like utter free fall or that confusion or that chaos before we can come to a point of understanding that that was actually very purposeful, and actually at the end of the day it was ultimately benefic, and it was something that set us on that path again to, you know, being where we need to be so that this, that, or the other good thing could take place in our lives. This is an energy that is provoking us to grow, whether or not we are ready to do so on our own. You know what I mean? It is not allowing the comfort zone to persist in the same way that it has. But like I said in the beginning, as a result of maybe being pushed out of the nest before we thought we were ready, or thrown in the deep end before we knew we could swim, we're discovering the camel crossing the vast and forbidding desert that, like, oh, I actually can do it. I actually do know what I'm doing. I'm actually stronger, tougher, braver, more skilled, more capable than I thought I was. And when we're talking again about Uranus in the sign of Taurus, especially right now, Uranus is preparing to complete a 7-year transit through the sign of Taurus. And here's another thing. These changes that are like finally coming into fruition right now, or things that are really changing in big ways right now, they may actually have been like trying to work their way to the surface, or work their way to the point where they're at now, which is this climactic point of change, or working their way to come loose in some way that becomes tangible somehow this week over the course of the past 6 or 7 years. Like, this could have been stuff that started going on in, 2018, 2019, 2020, and right now we are just seeing sort of like the culminated results of like little dominoes that have been like falling over, and now this big picture is finally coming into formation or fruition, which just has some impact of like utterly changing or shifting things in some type of epic way, or again, become some like catalytic somehow to some pending change that is working its way through this period of time as well. So there could be things relating back to when Uranus initially began his transit of the sign of Taurus that are hitting center stage right now in the Leo moon energy for some reason right now as well. So, consciously staying grounded, back to what I was saying a couple minutes ago, but understanding that this is just the time when things are likely to be shifting, energy is likely to be scattered, people are probably going to be all over the place, but we're grounding ourselves, we're paying attention, and there's an extra emphasis on the sky as well, not only taking maybe some special measures to just do more grounding in this energy, but also having a greater awareness perhaps of what's going on above us as well could prove beneficial in some capacity, maybe to some people at this time or as we move through this period of time. We have the position of the sun in, of course, exact opposition to the moon, which is giving us our full moon energy at 25 degrees of Aquarius. That Sabian symbol is a butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed. So we've got more air energy indicated by the positioning of the sun. Again, as I said, eyes on the skies, but also this particular symbol, the right wing more perfectly formed. A lot of times I feel like, it gives me like right brain, left brain sort of connotations. The right brain, this is like our imagination. This is our creative energy. This is like our ability to channel or connect with like spiritual or divine inspiration in a way that can be translated through like our mind's eye into some type of creative endeavor or whatever. I think that with the sun at this degree, again, aside from maybe a special awareness of what's going on above us, or an emphasis perhaps on the air, on the ether, on, even space, or just what's happening on, within, around, or above the sky, air travel, I don't know, right now, tapping in again, like to that creative energy, or just leaning maybe more a bit into our intuition, faith as we move through this energy. I think that could also be a beneficial tool. Again, very like psychic energy and these spiritual experiences. Let spirit be your guide. Trust your gut. Trust your intuition. If you are finding yourself just feeling intuitively guided or called to something for some reason right now, it's probably not for no reason. Uranus, especially in the sign of Taurus, like, it brings purpose, okay? We may not understand it right now. It may not make sense to you. It may not make sense to me. It may not make sense to a lot of people or us collectively generally, but there is definitely a greater purpose, and it's reparative in terms of things that are playing out just generally right now, from the most minute to the things that are happening on the most grand scales. And we need to have faith, and we need to trust. in this with Neptune and the North Node there. Like these are times of, on one hand, fated endings. That's another thing that Neptune and the North Node bring. This is bringing fated endings. And remember, you guys, what is the bigger story? What is the greater context that we are always keeping in mind when we are talking about astrology on this channel, narrating the shift of the ages? There's a paradigm shift underway, and we are transitioning into the age of Aquarius. As we move into the age of Aquarius, we are leaving the age of Pisces. Neptune and the North Node aligning in the sign of Pisces. I think this is also indicating like the beginning of the end of that energy as well. So the Piscean energy waning out, Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, on the other hand, the powerhouse, the planet representing power in all of its forms of all of our planetary energy in the sign of Aquarius, letting go of the past, this new future like powerfully emerging, and we are going to see manifest results of this paradigm shift that's been underway for a while now, that will continue to be underway for quite a long time. But we are, over this next 20 years with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, going to begin to understand collectively that we are moving through and living because of its physical presence and just the way that things start to happen now and moving forward. So very spiritual time, you guys. God and universe is speaking. This is also a time to cultivate your relationship with a higher power, the language with which you communicate with God, higher power, your higher self. This is the best possible time to do that as well. And it's a part of the spiritual evolution, spiritual growth energy that's being activated right now as well. So you may just find yourself cultivating a closer relationship to a higher power or spirit or universe or God or whatever it is that you resonate with or align with as we move through this time. And I do think also, another thing that I've been saying, this could be a more crisis oriented time. We should, on one hand, you know, not be utterly unprepared, talking about preparation for things maybe along those lines to present. We are talking about square energy. We also have Mars and Chiron in a square right now as well in cardinal signs. This could bring, you know, attacks. It could bring battles. Like the battle could be quite raging out there. I do feel like we are in the midst of a spiritual battle, pretty heavy as we move through this time as well. Uranus and Taurus and the square energy, disturbing the peace, okay, upsetting the status quo, shaking foundations, right? Earthquakes or like strange weather anomalies could definitely be a thing right now. But again, we are being pushed to discover our own internal power, our own resilience, our own resourcefulness, our own ability to be self-reliant. And as a byproduct of like maybe whatever it is that plays out during this time, I wouldn't be surprised if people generally are just kind of like taking power back. Again, remember the greater themes underway right now as Pluto's transiting Aquarius. There is a massive shift in power dynamics. Power is being decentralized. We are moving from an energy, especially over this past 16 years or whatever it was that Pluto has been in the sign of Capricorn, where there was an emphasis on big government, big medicine, you know, big pharma, big industries of all kinds, and this need for this authority to control and to construct and to structure and to manage the way that like every single little thing has been operating from the top down. Now we're in an energy where that is being dispersed, and there is really like, as we go through this period of time that is like pushing us to discover what we're truly capable of, a part of that is realizing that like, oh, like I actually don't need the external authority anymore, because the internal authority is like rising to prominence. You know what I mean? Like I no longer need this level of external guidance to ensure, you know, I can get the job done, because I know how to get the job done and I trust myself to get the job done and put, you know, whatever needs to be done in place to create whatever strategy or, you know, to be self-disciplined enough to get the job done. This is how the shift is going to take place in a lot of ways. So it's actually going to be like more of a natural and organic process, this whole decentralization thing, than we might think, coming from, and I was just speaking about the past generation of Capricorn with Pluto's transit through the sign of Capricorn from 2008 to 2024, but we're coming out of this age of Pisces, which was also a very hierarchical, like top down, everyone schools together under this like morphogenic field, schools of fish type of energy. And Aquarius is just not that way. And part of our transitional process into that energy, which may just seem, you know, when we talk about the decentralized power and the way that things are going moving forward in this age of individual awareness and individual self-empowerment, like a lot of people kind of maybe like scoff at it, like, oh, we could never get it together enough to be able to do that. But the thing is, you know, it's going to be, as I mentioned, like more of this natural and organic process as we are individually put in situations where we do awaken to the truth of our capabilities. And after we have done that and also experience the freedom associated with it, you know, with great power does come great responsibility, but it's also freedom, you know what I mean? We can be self-directed. We're not having to follow the rules and stay in the lines and the boundaries and operate according to the same mold. So it offers also, you know, this great level of freedom, which is also associated with the Aquarian energy, but it's like the freedom that we gain through an increased aptitude. And also, I always talk about, when we're talking about the Aquarian energy, the self-discipline that is inherently required in order to make Aquarius work right. Aquarius is a sign that is ruled by Uranus, but it's also ruled by Saturn. It's a co-ruled sign. Saturn is the traditional ancient ruler of Aquarius. Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. Saturn is about the box. Uranus is about breaking out of the box. Saturn is like convention and tradition. Uranus is like progress and the future and innovation. And so it's really these two contradictory energies, but it's actually not, because kind of like the lesson with Aquarius is like, you can't really get to the future in the way that, remember, I also say that Aquarius has a lot to do with facilitating the proper cosmic path to unfold. And in order for that to happen, like, we have to be at a place of almost like wisdom through experience that allows us to move down that path to that destined soul evolution, where Uranus is always kind of like, I don't know, gearing and orienting us towards. So with, you know, the Saturnian energy, it's like, yes, we are meant to break out of the box. Yes, we are meant to maybe evolve out of convention or tradition, but the way that we get there effectively and successfully is essentially through, you know, the wisdom gained through experience and the self-discipline, the Saturnian energy that allows us to unlock the potential within us to the greatest extent of our ability. So I feel like the Saturn-Uranus dynamic with the Aquarian energy has a lot to do with, yes, us defying convention, you know, overcoming limitations, but a lot of it has to do with our ability to work with self-control and self-discipline in order to refine the Uranian energy enough so that it's not just this wild, crazy, lightning, erratic, rebellious, revolutionary energy, but actually an energy that can be applied in a successful way to result in like a process of self-actualization, which really at its higher octaves, I think, is what this energetic combination, Saturn and Uranus, equate to when they're functioning together in a balanced, proper way. So, and I've been saying, you guys, like over the course of this energy of this week, moving up to this full moon, doing what we can to step towards our own self-mastery, I think is going to be beneficial for us as we move through this energy as well. Now, relationships, investments, commitments, partnerships, again, things that have been fixed in place, permanent, immobile, long-lasting, likely to suddenly be undergoing some type of foundational shift in this energy that like breaks the whole thing loose, okay? If you have been needing some motion to take place with something, if something has been stagnant, if there has just been something that you've been struggling with for a really long time, there could just be some sudden movement somehow that goes on this week over the course of this next several days as this full moon cycle plays out that really just kind of changes the nature of whatever that is could impact. Now I'm going to talk about Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and the themes that could be highlighted or present in the context of those signs being activated right now. Number one, in terms of the Taurian energy, we're talking about resources, supplies, supply chains, food, assets, building materials, value in the worth of things, deals, agreements, projects, partnerships, alliances, legal type of situations, also like rare earth minerals, or like valuable minerals or things coming from or of the earth or underneath the earth, mining, also land, farmland, and food production. All this type of stuff could be implicated in some of this turbulence going on right now. In terms of the Leo energy, of course, this brings up kings, rulers, celebrities, celebrity culture, Hollywood entertainers, the rich and famous, elites. This can also have to do with sports and celebrations. Again, like there could be some changes to plans having to go on if you've got like a party planned or something like that. And also in terms of the Aquarius energy, space, technology, AI, new energy, new sources of power, decentralization of things generally, inventions and innovations. These are the themes and things happening in the sky as well that we could just see more prominent kind of across the board right now. And we are really looking at a true blend of these Taurus, Leo, Aquarian themes. The moon is in Leo, which is the sign being ruled by the sun right now. The sun is in Aquarius, being ruled by Uranus. So there's all those connections there. And then remember, Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, being ruled by Venus. Venus is at 6 degrees of the sign of Aries when we've got this full moon going on. That Sabian symbol is a square brightly lighted on one side. Again, it makes me think of like the square, right? That's exactly the aspect that we've got going on with Uranus. This tension, this box, this limitation, like this need for some type of breakthrough, but it's brightly lighted on one side, like, oh, the lightning bolt hit over there. Solutions, movement to things that have long been set in place, or providing blockages or obstructions or limitations. This is the time when change occurs. So it is about solutions, I think, seeing the light, the square brightly lighted on one side. We're talking about a literal square with the lightning planet playing out. Awakening, of course, the sign of Aquarius, so emphasized right now, and overcoming challenges, overcoming previous limitations, but perhaps by seeing things differently, seeing something we hadn't noticed before, a creative or an innovative solution. This is also like outside the box thinking, probably a very that's probably like a real good like set of little keywords right there. A lot of outside the box thinking, ideas, remedies, and solutions that, again, could seem totally wild on surface value, but end up actually leading to some type of sweeping change that we wouldn't have seen coming. But we do have to endure. We may have to be resilient. We may need determination. Again, like things could seem a bit barren, okay? We may have to like go without some level of comfort somehow for a period of time. The camel and the vast forbidding, a large camel crossing a vast and forbidden desert. But again, like we're gonna make it. We're gonna get to the other side of this period of time, and we do have everything that we need to sustain ourselves for whatever journey we're on right now, actually like inside of us. Also leaning on our faith, spirituality, intuition, creative energy, letting creative, divinely inspired solutions, perhaps, again, like the spiritual intervention, divine intervention energy coming through right here as well. Belief in the power of the unseen, the hand of God at work in our lives right now, the butterfly with the right wing. I think, yeah, it's the right wing, more perfectly formed. Uranus, you guys, this is a degree where Uranus has been for a long time. Uranus stationed at this degree. I've been talking about this symbolism. Uranus is at 24 degrees of Taurus for the full moon. That Sabian symbol is an Indian warrior riding fiercely. Human scalps hanging from his belts. But, you know, we do also have that Venus degree, a square brightly lighted on one side. As I mentioned earlier, I do feel like there's a spiritual battle underway right now, especially in terms of the energetic dominance of the future. But also, as I've been saying, in my personal perception, yes, the battle wages on, the battle rages on, but I feel that the outcome has already been written. We are headed into the age of Aquarius. We are we are in an ascending age back into a golden age energy. We are coming out of the darker age Kali Yuga energy right now in terms of these way larger grand cycles of time that are underway. And I think that, yes, there's a spiritual battle waging, but I think that we are just witnessing the final stages of this play out. And I think we need to keep in mind the understanding that, as I said, like the outcome seemingly has already been written, and there is just some things that we maybe need to see that move us in that direction of what that final outcome is. The end is written. We're just living the tale that takes us to that conclusion. And if we, you know, in terms of like the story arc, so to say, we are really, I do think, at quite a climactic period right now. Maybe in terms of this 2025 year, but I really mean kind of in the general grand schemes of things, like generationally, we are at a very climactic point of change and transition. And I mean, we have 1776 energy back around right now as well. This is a second American Revolution, sort of. This is I would say, a global revolution 2.0. This is not hitting in one place. This is a common energetic theme that is transforming the nature of our world itself. And again, in little ways within the individual and big ways on the world stage, but little ways trickle and snowball into big ways. And as we move forward through this next 20 years with Pluto now in the sign of Aquarius, it is going to become very evident that we are in a different world, that reality has changed, things have shifted. We are just not going to be seeing or understanding or perceiving our experience of life on planet Earth, I think, the same as we have been as we continue to move forth through this period of time. But we're talking about a lot of Aquarius energy, you guys. We have to say a revolution, rebellion with that Uranian degree, the Indian warrior riding fiercely, human scalps hanging from his belt, out for blood, heads rolling. That's another theme that we could see right now that, you know, I've been talking about. This full moon is squaring Algol, the fixed star Algol. That is the Medusa star. It can have to do with losing one's head. Another reason why I'm like, pay extra attention, stay grounded, don't allow yourself to be like distracted to the point where you aren't paying attention where you're going and you, like, I don't know, step out in front of traffic or something. Like, that's like, and also on that same note, like, be extra careful when you're driving, because people just are probably not going to be paying attention. Like, and it's not even necessarily their own fault, and it's not even necessarily your own fault. It's just like things happening. There could be a lot of like freak things happening as well. And also, as I mentioned, this can be a more accident prone energy. Like, it is what it is. Uranus can often indicate just like freak scenarios going on, especially if we're like too keyed up in the nervous system and hovering slightly above the ground and haven't gotten any sleep and all strung out on just like the vibe right now. So, and also, you guys, with the Neptune, this is another thing I've been saying, with the Neptune North Node conjunction, that can provoke escapism through like drugs, alcohol, and suicide. So that's another red flag of this energy and ways that it could just be kind of taking people right now as well. So if you deal with people who struggle with stuff like that, maybe just be aware of that as we continue moving through this period of time. We could also see incidents having to do with perhaps like shocking or violent acts that take place. That could be another indication here that I wanted to be sure to mention. And also another way that this could go is sudden breakdowns in tradition or authority. Saying that because, yes, Venus is ruling the position of Uranus right now. Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, ruled by Venus, but Venus is in Aries, ruled by Mars, and Mars is in a water sign trine. We've been talking about this energy as well with Saturn in the sign of Pisces. So Mars trining Saturn in Pisces, this is a younger generation of things that is perhaps transitioning into authority in the context of an older generation of things that is falling away, foundations, belief systems, control systems that are breaking down as some new Mars is like a younger, more like active and motivated energy is kind of like stepping in, a leadership energy. It could be like a transition in leadership, or again, like I said, some type of tradition or just old system, old way of doing things, or authority, government, indicated through Mars ruling Venus, who is ruling Uranus in the square to the moon. So all of those dots connected. That's how I came up with that as well. But I feel like there's no going back after this. It's like the point of no return. I think I said that earlier. This is, I think, reprogramming or recalibrating mental energy based on what we're finding out, information that's being presented. There's also a lot about things that have been hidden finally coming to light, and that could also play into the way that our minds are shifting and changing, and we are shifting and changing as a result of that. This could be a very dramatic period of time as well. This is a Leo full moon, so could really be bringing the drama on some level. Things could seem very, very dramatic somehow. But on a more mundane level, this again could just bring some generalized like interference or distractions or turns of events, things just not going as planned. Also, maybe an inner like yearning or urge for freedom, for change, to do things differently, to feel stimulated. Like the mundane, the day-to-day is likely just not to be like floating our boat the same way that it normally does in this energy. And you may just be feeling some kind of itch to like make a change, do something different, switch it up, feel alive, feel stimulated, feel excited. And not only that, a lot of things are just not going to be going as normal this week. Like there could just be like things on your schedule that aren't normally on your schedule that make this week a bit unique or random or just out of the ordinary for some reason. But everybody is probably going to experience something this week that is just not in alignment with like their normal humdrum flow of things. Electricity in the air for sure, I would say. Especially the closer again that you are to these 24-degree fixed signs, or even fire signs or air signs, because we've got Uranus in an earth signs, air signs, and fire signs, because we've got Uranus in an earth sign. So if you've got earth signs around 24 degrees, you're getting the Uranian trine, but you guys have been in this for a while because Uranus has been at that degree. If you're air sign, then you're trine the sun in the opposition to the moon. Of course, if you're a fire sign, then you're in a trine to the moon. But specifically, I would say fixed signs around 24 degrees. If you've got important planets or points around that, you are very much being zapped by the flow of energy as it comes through the circuits with this. Aside from the symbols that I have already said, you guys, the sun, the moon, Uranus, Venus, I want to tell you guys the rest of the symbols that we have associated with our full moon chart. They are painting a picture, they are telling a story, so I wanted to make sure to let you guys in on that as well. So let me just do that real quick, and then I've got a few more notes and then we'll wrap this thing up. But I told you we've got the sun at 25 Aquarius, a butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed, the earth and the moon at 25 Leo, a large camel crossing a vast and forbidding desert. We have Mercury at 27 Aquarius, an ancient pottery bowl filled with violets. Venus 6 Aries, a square brightly lit on one side. Mars is at 18 Cancer, a hen scratching for her chicks. Jupiter is still at 12 degrees of Gemini. A slave girl demands her rights of her mistress. 19 Pisces, where Saturn is a master instructing his disciple. I said 24 Taurus, where Uranus is an Hindu warrior riding fiercely, human scalps hang from his belt. We have Neptune at 29 Pisces, light breaking into many colors as it passes through a prism. Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius. I feel like this is an extra relevant symbol right now, degree placement as well. A deserter from the Navy stands suddenly aware of a dawning truth. Freedom is never the result of compromise. That we've got two symbols specifically referencing like verbatim the word freedom, the Jupiter degree and also the Pluto degree. Jupiter and Pluto obviously both being powerful planetary influences, Jupiter expanding things, Pluto like literally representing power. There is an Uranus and Aquarius also being this like freedom seeking, freedom oriented energy. There is definitely like willing to fight for freedom, truth, integrity, authenticity. I think that's probably a pretty evident theme that we've got moving through this period of time right now as well. The North Node right now is at 28 Pisces. A fertile garden under the full moon reveals an abundance of full-grown vegetables. Under the full moon right there, what are we discovering as we move through this period of time? And again, that's like resources, right? An abundance of full-grown vegetables. What has been growing, maybe in the dark, maybe that we've been unaware of, maybe that we still aren't fully seeing properly in the moonlight, but is there nonetheless. Maybe it's a time to take inventory of our resources. And the South Node also at 28 degrees Virgo, a bald-headed man in uniform who has seized power. We have Chiron at 20 Aries, a young girl feeding birds in winter, and the Black Moon at 26 Libra, an eagle and a large white dove, constantly turning one into the other. So ultimately, as I've been saying, you know, there's all of that as sort of a backdrop, but sudden, sweeping, systemic, physical, material change. I'm saying physical and material because remember, the one way Earth energy is emphasized right now is in the context of breakdown and change. Letting go of how things have been, and change is now impacting the way the future is going to unfold going forward, because things are really being cosmically and energetically rearranged so that certain, I guess we could say, like timelines or potentials are supported in their process of manifestation. At this time, it especially emphasizes financial and economic matters and the state of things in our 3D lives, material reality. Also, the partnership themes running real strong through this. Teeth are being pulled here, you guys, to heal the overall system. But this is also the Great Awakening. Minds, perspectives are agitated in this energy. People could really be on edge, coming unhinged, coming unglued, general chaos, things being in a bit of a state of melee out there. That is what we're looking at. That is what I would expect. And again, people not perceiving what is happening for what it actually is or what it will become, but rather for their perception of what they assume that it is based on the initial appearance or presentation that it manifests with. People are probably going to be acting real weird though, you guys. Things are not going to be going as planned. Shakeups, disturbances, shocks. Shock factor. I've been saying, you know, this week generally. Unusual weather events and anomalies as well could definitely accompany this. So you may want to, you know, if there's some weird weather going on around where you live, maybe have some weather awareness during this period of time. Uranus in the sign of Taurus can bring just like weird stuff going on in terms of weather, in terms of like earth stuff, because we're talking literally about fixed earth sign, and things are just pulled very, very, very tight out there. Okay, like the rubber band is pulled all the way tight, and things could just be like launching out of left field without any warning or an ability to like anticipate what is coming next. Things moving fast. And again, that is why there is an extra need right now to consciously take measures to slow ourselves down, to ground ourselves, to think before we react. And another thing, you know, a lot of times with Uranus energy, because it's like the great rectifier, you know what I've been saying, like it's making changes all the time to put things in a better way so that their chain reactions can unfold properly. It's trying to like realign things so that some higher plan can come to fruition. As a result, things have a tendency of just like getting really out of whack out of nowhere real quick, just not working. Something is just spontaneously like not happening, not working, not doing what it always does, and it can cause us to like freak out in the moment. But this is also energy where sometimes if you just like don't react, don't respond, step back and just like give it a little bit of time, a lot of times you'll find that things will miraculously like fall into place, get the kink out of the own system, just like start working again on its own. Because again, like things are actually working to somehow put themselves back into proper order, but sometimes there needs to be like something that gets out of order first in order for that like adjustment to take place. So that's that, you guys. I am gonna get us a synchronicity card now and stop talking. I hope that that wasn't too incoherent and all over the place, because it kind of felt like that. So I hope that that made sense and you guys are following me. But really, if you got nothing else out of this video, I just want you to take with you that these are some pretty big times of epic change, and we shouldn't necessarily get too attached to the initial way that a lot of this stuff is presenting, because there's a very strong likelihood that it's going to turn out to be like not what we thought it was. Synchronicity card now, you guys. I'm gonna ask God, Spirit, Universe, is there one piece of guidance or advice, one final message that we should keep in mind as we move through this week, as we move through this energy? Turn off the world, it says, you guys. It's what we need to know. Folly is joy to him destitute of wisdom. Proverbs 15:21. Looking for love in all the wrong places, finding joy in externals or in lurid drama, hate-filled music, or other synthetic entertainment, you will find joy within yourself. The camel. Turn off the noise and listen to the voice within, the intuition. That was my addendum. Search for wisdom within. Be happy within yourself and you will find joy. That's really amazing considering, you know, how I started out this report, you guys. This is a Leo full moon. This is about cultivating joy, celebrating life, reuniting with the inner child, pursuing creative passions, letting our inner light shine. You know what I mean? But it's also in the context of like overcoming maybe things that have presented as blockages to us being able to do that within the past or even within ourselves. This is a really good time also to like try something new. If there's something that you've been really wanting to try, especially if it's like a creative pursuit or like something that you've been wanting to learn, or sport you've been wanting to play, or just something that you think would be really fun that you've always wanted to do that you've never, for whatever reason, gotten the opportunity to try out, this would be a very good time to do that as well. Awakening to latent loves, latent passions, latent joys that are somehow associated with like a deeper authentic purpose within us that is emerging right now as well. That is another very strong indication of this energy, like some type of spontaneous awakening to something that really gives us life somehow that we had been unaware of, that could alter the direction or our focus of the way our life moves going forward. But it's really perfect because this card obviously is talking about not looking externally for that which makes us happy, that which gives us joy, that which gives us a reason to celebrate or makes us feel like fulfilled or filled up inside. It's literally, or like gives us fun. It's literally says you will find joy within yourself. And then we're talking about this camel, right, that has everything that it needs within itself. So the moral of the story here, I think ultimately, you guys, is that we need to reawaken to what it is within us that gives us life and tap into that. If, you know, things get challenging, there is something within us that is seeking expression outwardly, and we just got to find it, tap it, move into it. And, you know, cultivating, as I said, like the inner child could be big in this somehow as well. But find ways to have fun, you guys, and not based on things external to yourself, but perhaps through discovering something deep inside that wants your recognition right now also. So that's what I'm going to say, you guys. I'm going to stop talking now. That's how I feel like this full moon energy is coming together for us. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think that they would be interested in this type of astrology content as well. Leave me comments. I'm so grateful. I tell you guys all the time for your presence on my channel, for your contributions, for what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, if you are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, please let me know in my comment section below. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group where I post images of those boards. You can find that in my description box below. If you are into Mayan astrology and you want to follow the day signs with us, I have been posting Mayan astrology shorts in alignment with whatever day we're on in the Tolkien Mayan cosmology right now. You can find that in the shorts department of my channel. And come back with me on Friday, you guys. We have a weekend update, a weekend video that we need to get into. More astrology coming at us as we continue to move through our week, and I will be back to talk all about it. So you should come back too. You don't want to miss it. I will see you then, guys. Have a very nice midpoint of your week, full moon in Aquarius. I will see you next time, guys. Until then, bye.